Couple players in the Minnesota Vikings 2023 NFL draft class are getting some first team reps. We'll talk about them right after this. As we head into the final portion of the offseason before the break and then training camp, end of July, we have the mandatory mini camp. A lot of big things coming from that. We have players that showed up, players that didn't, and some of the rookies who have showed out. So I think we should start there. Let's talk about some of these rookies because obviously we know back last year we didn't get a lot of contribution from the rookie class. This year, we're crossing our fingers. We get not only contribution from this year's rookie class, but also last year's rookie class as well. But so far, this year's rookie class looks like it's off to an amazing start.
Yeah, I'd say the only one that's I would say is somewhat of question right now. Might as well bring this up right away before going into these other guys is just Jordan Addison. So far, he's kind of been dealing with this injury, but they say he should be completely ready to go. It's precautionary, completely ready to go by training camp. So we haven't got to see much of him yet. But obviously, we didn't have a second round pick. So we had a third round pick that we traded back in the third round and grabbed this guy. Some people had said it was a reach. Mekhi Blackmon today was getting some first team reps for the cornerback position, a position that we definitely need. We definitely need a lot of help with. We don't have a guy. Actually, I would say we still don't have a absolutely for sure bona fide cornerback one right now. We are assuming that it's going to be Byron Murphy. And I'm hoping that it is. And I know, speaking of Byron Murphy, he won their little jersey day the other day or whatever. That's kind of some reason a big deal. But so, I mean, maybe that's a good sign it'll be quarterback one. But no matter what, we have cornerback two open. Sounds like it's going to be between Caleb Evans, which I think you mentioned to me, who has looked pretty good, Andrew Booth, and then Blackmon, and seeing Blackmon getting who seems like he could end up being honestly the best true one-on-one coverage out of the three based on what he did in college. Getting some reps and seeing how he does there. I mean, if he ends up taking that spot, I'm glad they're trying him in the first with first stringers, because it's something that with Mike Zimmer wouldn't even give him a shot,
Absolutely. Yeah.
So that's a huge one. And then actually I'll let you what's your thoughts on Mekhi Blackmon, and then I'll let you jump into the other guy, since this is actually a guy that you liked. The second guy is actually a guy that you've liked throughout the whole process. And you kind of predicted this potential starting position for this other guy. But I'll let you start with Blackmon, and then you can go into the other guy.
Absolutely. But before I do get into that, I do want to ask you guys, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, like the videos, ring the bell, get notifications when we post more. And if you're not new here, tell other people
Jefferson rookie cards.
We do give away Justin Jefferson. Hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, all the good stuff. Let's get into this. So Mekhi Blackmon, I'll bring up some of the tweets here from the first couple days of this. I look down at the bottom there. Sam Extra, Mekhi Blackmon got work with the ones in both the boundary and nickel rolls. And that's a big thing. There's a lot open here. As you said, there is no like alpha dog cornerback one that has won a job so far. I mean, obviously, like you said, Murphy, we're hoping. A couple guys from last year, Booth and Evans, whatever. But it's nice seeing Mekhi Blackmon get in here. We also have rookie Jay Ward. Haven't heard much about him yet, but I know there is that thought process. He could move into that nickel role as well. But man, if you look at it this way, you could have Byron Murphy, Caleb Evans, and Mekhi Blackmon as your three corners, as in like two outside, and then Mekhi Blackmon at the nickel. Maybe mix in Booth in there a little bit. That could be huge. So with Blackmon, I know some people thought it was a reach, but also I remember, the night it happened, me and you talking about it, just saying like this had to have been Brian Flores influence, right? Like he has to have some sort of influence here. Then you start looking some stuff up about this kid. You watch some of his highlight tape. Is he a little grabby? Sure. But he's a man-to-man cover corner, and that's what this defense is predicated off of. He's aggressive. He sticks. I mean, does he grab? Sure, but he sticks like glue on the receivers he's covering. Played against Jordan Addison and Caleb Williams in practice this last season. So I mean, it's just there's a lot to like with this kid. And I think people, just because of where he was drafted, are undercrediting him a little bit. I think this guy has a chance to be great. And I think so far him getting some early reps with the ones is exactly what you want to see from a third round pick, who the defensive coordinator looked at and said, that's the guy I want on this football team.
Yeah, 100%. And when we picked him up and we looked at him, it was pretty obvious that his best attribute is his one-on-one coverage, which works exactly what Flores does with his system. So, I mean, it could give him in the upper hand in the long run with this cornerback group. But of course, again, this is mandatory mandatory mini camp before it was rookie mini camp. There's a lot to be said about, you know, them not wearing pads and everything like that. So, you know, training camp, you get a better look at them. So you kind of have to take everything with a grain of salt. But no matter what, and even with this next guy that I'll let you jump in here soon, no matter what, like getting first team reps at any point, even in minicamp, is impressive and is a good sign for them. That means it definitely at least shows you they're going to get the opportunity in training camp. So we'll be able to see them get that shot, and you know, will they take advantage of it? We don't know for sure.
But as you said, getting into the other guy here, from Alec Lewis, some quick Vikings thoughts from practice. This was from yesterday, the 13th. Defense continued to include a bunch of looks with 3 safeties, including Josh Metellus. One thing, speaking of rookies from last year, I heard is Lewis seeing they are working him back in slowly. Here he's mostly been getting some reps with the twos, pretty much exclusively. But of course, with the injury, not a lot of playing time last year is probably good for him. Offensive versatility was obvious, multiple looks with CJ Ham. Jamie, I'm sure you'll be happy to read that, in different spots. And then the big one, rookie defensive tackle Jaquelin Roy getting lots of snaps with the ones. Jaquelin Roy was a guy that, I mean, obviously when he was drafted, I didn't know much about him. But the more you look into him, there was a way too early mock draft of him being a potential top 10 pick. And I know, they said some of his stats took a dip this last season, but the guy's got pass rush ability. He's a hard worker, played on a pretty solid defense as well. And this is a guy that when he was drafted, a lot of people like, this guy has a shot. And if you look at the roster, I mean, you look at that the defensive interior line, you don't have a lot. You have Harrison Phillips, who's kind of out with an injury right now. You have Kyrus Tongo, who you hope can play well. You have Esezi Ademawa from last season. But outside of that, you got Bullard and Blacklock, some guys that are just kind of probably guys that aren't going to be on this team for long. So there is a legitimate chance for Jaquelin Roy to get some playing time here. And I think the fact that he's getting first team reps this early shows that maybe they're seeing some of that potential that people saw when they had him pegged as a potential top 10 pick. So I'm super excited about Jaquelin Roy. I've said it since I looked into him after we drafted him. I said, this guy is the guy that I think 3 years down the road, we're looking at this as this dude was a steal for this team. And his NFL comp, his draft comp was Delvin Tomlinson. If he can be anything like Delvin Tomlinson, I'm totally in. And plus, I feel like he's a little bit more athletic than Tomlinson was as well. So,
and he's younger.
Yeah, the sky's the limit for Jaquelin Roy, man. And like I said, wide open competition at that spot. I say watch out. I think he has a legitimate shot to be in there, potentially starting early in the season, if not week 1.
Yeah, that's you're right. Like there is just a wide open spot. If there's one spot on it, like even in head of Jordan Addison for that wide receiver 2 spot, like that. I mean, he's going to be going up against Tonga pretty much. Like I don't see him really going. He doesn't have much competition outside of that. Like you said, a bunch of journeymen, but that's kind of it. And Tonga's another guy that we just don't really know a lot about, even though I did see I think there was a Bleacher Report list. I don't have it on me right now. But they actually had Tonga as a breakout player. Out of like 9 players they picked, he was a breakout player going into this year. But that could just be based a lot on opportunity. He looked fantastic in his little bit of playing time last year, but obviously we got him from practice squad. And I don't know. You don't really see this doesn't really matter, but you don't really see a lot of players getting picked off the practice squad to end up being like an elite player or a reliable long-term starter. It does happen though. It does definitely happen. Yeah. So I mean, it's going to be a competition between them, I think. So I think you have to kind of give Roy some first team reps, and I think he probably has the best chance, or at least the best opportunity, to come in and grab that spot. It's possible he could be a week 1 starter. Obviously, he's a young player. He's going to have hiccups. He's going to have all that stuff. So I don't know how much you can really expect out of him. But man, that's a position we need that kind of help. Because even with his comparison to Delvin Tomlinson, the real Delvin Tomlinson, we still needed help on that defensive line. But man, if he can just be Delvin Tomlinson, that would be more than big.
Absolutely. So yeah, a lot of good things to see. And so far, it's nice getting some reports of early rookie contributions. So we got some rookies showing out. Speaking of players that showed up, we all know Danielle Hunter has not shown up yet. That situation, it feels 50-50 at this point,
Yeah.
whether or not he will be back. I know we talked about that last week, and go check out that video. That video that's up on the channel. But let's talk about people that did show up, and the big one that did show up is Justin Jefferson. I know a lot of people were worried. Why is he not at OTAs? You know, he did show up for mandatory minicamp, which is huge. Picture on the left, you see JJ. This was the first shot we got of him walking out of the locker room. Then, of course, on the right, JJ just still doing JJ things. He did have a press conference yesterday after the practice was over. A few little points he brought up. He was working up Miami, missed OTAs due to marketing and endorsement opportunities, which, do you believe it or not, I think part of it did have to do with the contract, but I do think they're at a point now where they both know it's going to get done, so it will. He said contract will come with the game, lets his agent take care of all that. And then he did also say he will show up to training camp without a new contract, which I don't think and I don't know. I know you don't. I know anybody watching this doesn't think so, but I do not see him getting to training camp without a fresh new contract, making one of the top paid players in the game ever history.
Right.
Like,
I'm already surprised we've waited this long, to be honest, but it shows a lot.
You do kind of wait for training camp, but
yeah, it does make sense. And I understand, like, that's one thing doing podcasts and stuff, like, you got to get a better idea of how the salary cap works and all that kind of stuff, and when's the best time to, they obviously wait until June 1st to see what's going on with the Cooks, open up some money, whatever. We do have some money to kind of figure that stuff out with Justin Jefferson, but I'm hoping he definitely has his contract extended by training camp. He deserves it. I think him showing up in the way he's presented himself since he's been in OTA or mini camp has been really impressive, and makes you even want him even more. Especially when you hear all this stuff going on with Diggs, even though they say it's personal matter. I don't know what's going on, but some of these other players, Hunter, I don't put in that category. He's going to get paid $5 million this year. Like, it makes 100% sense to me. If I'm him, I'm not showing up and taking any risk of getting injured. I took a deal with you guys last year. I don't blame him at all. But other than that, you see a lot of these other players that are kind of diva, and Justin Jefferson, the best wide receiver in the league, most yards last season, and he comes in and is like, hey, no, I'm here. I was just working out somewhere else, and I'll be here for training camp, and we'll get this contract figured out. But so I like that a lot. And man, it just, we got the best wide receiver in the league, and I don't think it's just from his talent perspective.
Absolutely. But yeah, man, a lot of people showing out at training camp, especially the rookies. Love to see it. We want to know what you guys think. Are you excited to see these rookies stepping up in training camp so far? Do you think Jaquelin Roy or Mekhi Blackmon be a starter week 1? Let us know down in the comments. Hit like if you haven't already. And we'll see you guys next time on the GG Sports Podcast.
Skol Vikes.